I remember, Jeff, when you and I were talking, man, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the show. Because my brand is evolving into this brand of relationships and money.
Yeah.
Like, how do we steward the single season correctly? How do we have healthy relationships, friendships, marriages, dating relationships, stuff like that? And one of the things you told me, which was so cool, is that you actually walked away from an opportunity to make 6 figures at a job because you wanted to be the best husband and the best father as possible. Real quickly, man, break that down for us. What does that mean? Because I really want my tribe to hear from another Black man. So you know what? I didn't chase the bag.
Yeah.
I chased being a father. I chased being the leader of my home. I chased being, the great husband to my wife. And it's so funny. I've gotten to know your wife over the last couple of years, man. And you got a dope wife.
Thank you.
She works and she just does all family.
Yeah.
She don't go out with girlfriends. It's her love is working, what she loves to do, and you and y'all's daughter. So what made you as a man? Because most men watching right now would have took that 6 figures.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, you know what? No, I want to walk my daughter to school.
Yeah. Well, so backstory a little bit. I worked in retail, and after I graduated college, just like anybody, Sally Mae was knocking on the door like, "Hey, it's time to pay your student loans and everything." So for me, I wanted to get started into a career where I could start making some money paying that debt off. So got into a retail manager position, worked my way up really fast, started making that money, start paying off that debt. But I've always known that I wanted to run a business. I just didn't know what it was, right? So for me, when I got into that retail job, you said it wasn't about I chose my family over making the bag. Yeah. No, I was still thinking about making the bag. I just wanted to make it for myself. I wanted to control it. So
I got you.
But I didn't have any background on how to run a business, anything like that. So I took that retail management position and used that as an opportunity to learn how to, run a business. But while working that retail job, I also had 2 other side jobs on the side to clean up my debt, Yeah. But fast forward, we were living in Arkansas. She's from Ohio. We had to make a compromise. We had a baby. She didn't want to live in Arkansas. I didn't want to move to Ohio. Nashville was a halfway point. Okay. So compromise, we decided we were going to move here. Well, retail, as most people know, is very, very competitive. So they go after managers from another. Right. I mean, I was in retail pharmacy. So put my resume out here that I was moving toward Nashville, and I had no idea Nashville was blowing up like it was. Yeah. So as soon as I put it out there, got hits from different other retail places, like, "Hey, we would love to have you." Well, I had one opportunity from this retail company that was expanding to Hawaii. And they interviewed me and they said, "Hey, we would love to have you take over that." And it was lucrative. I'm talking about big salary. I would have been able to move my family there. They would have paid for all that. Amazing amount of money. But right before we got done...
We're talking about more than 200,000?
It was about 240,000. Yeah. But that's also with potential, depending on how the store did and everything like that. But right when we got done with the interview, the last thing the guy said to me, he realized the interview went well, shook my hand. He was like, "All right, you ready to sell your soul over?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "It's 160-hour weeks." He was like, "No holidays." He was like, "But you give your family whatever they want." He was like, "You have all the money in the world." And, I laughed it off, but when I was driving back home, I got home and I talked to her. I was like, "Man, I just don't know if I want to do that." I was like, that's a lot of money. And I was like, but I also feel like that God has put us in a position to where we make this leap of faith to move to Nashville. And if I don't do it now, while I'm still in good standings, I've never burnt the bridge with the company that I'm with. If I was to leave and try to start my thing, I can always go back to retail if it fails, But I wanted to try it for myself. So we did. I turned it down. I haven't missed anything with my daughter. And our business is booming right now. So it was the best thing we did.
So as his wife, actually, when he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about turning it down," what was your first thoughts when he said, "Hey, I don't know if I want this"?
I was fine.
You were?
Yeah, because to me, it's not about the money. It's about quality time. In retail, we run retail for so long.
Gotcha.
But also, I work 12-hour shifts at that time I was working 12-hour shifts in the hospital. And so, we have a child to take care of. None of us were going to be able to spend time. And I think family time is so much more important to me than money.
Wow.
So I was okay. I think really it backs up to the point of when he got offered the job and he was talking about moving to Hawaii. I was more of wanting, like, ooh, that's kind of far away from our families.
Right.
So that was more of my thing.
Wow. That's interesting, man. I'm proud of you, man. That's a dope move. I don't know too many men who would turn down that much money just to spend more time.
Yeah.
And not just spend more time. You said, hey, I still want the money, but I want to build the money with my family.
Yeah. Well, you also got to think about it. I had already cleaned up $74,000 worth of debt with the job that I had.
Okay.
So money was not we were not in a bad debt situation to where money was a driving force.
Right.
We put ourselves in a position to where we can make a decision to move forward, to kind of like where we're in a driver's seat to decide on if we wanted to make the money for ourselves or if I want to make the money, based on what somebody else telling me to do. And no downplay to anybody who is, working those jobs. I think that's great.
Yeah.
But I also had to, one of the hardest things I ever did in my life was I had to fire she had been with the company 37 years on Christmas Day to meet quota, I don't want to have to make those decisions again based on, the value of $1 because the company's trying to meet a bottom line, So to me, that played a part in it too. And it's all about legacy. I want to leave my daughter with something. And I think and I hope and I pray that this is something that we can leave her with. That whether she wants to work it or not is not the big thing, but she has it to fall back on.